Welcome to the beginning of the year. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Today we're going to be asking ourselves, how do we get our groups to connect? It's the beginning of the year. We have a lot of new faces. How do we build openness and transparency in our small groups? I think one of the most important things for us to think through and to try to get our students to think through is, why does this matter? Why does it even matter if our groups bond? And I know for me, it's good to be called back to remember the truth that we can only be loved to the extent to which we are known. And to put that simply, people can only love the parts of our story, the parts of our heart that we allow them to see. The things we keep hidden, we never know how others will respond to them. So in light of that, we hope that our small groups are a place where students are known, where they're known for their successes and failures, their strengths and weaknesses, where all of this is laid out in front of their brothers or sisters in Christ. In order for this to happen in a group, it needs to be a place where members trust each other, care about each other, and have respect for one another. So then we ask ourselves the question, as group leaders, how do we move toward this? How do we take some steps towards building that connectedness? One of the first things we do, particularly early in the year, is we create shared experiences. We help our students just to rub shoulders with one another. New faces, new acquaintances, they're not ready to talk at a deep level, and that's okay. We don't expect them to do that. So we just try to set up opportunities for them to know each other in informal ways, through group activities, doing a service project together, and just hanging out. One of the other things that we can do as group leaders is we can model openness. It's good for our students to know that not only are we imperfect group leaders, but we're broken people, and we're broken on many levels. We need to be careful and calculated about how we're transparent with our students, but your transparency will open the door for students to make themselves known as well. It will start to build a culture of openness in your group. Another thing we have to emphasize is listening. It's amazing, if we step back and if we're honest with ourselves as people, we're oftentimes not very good listeners. I like to think I'm better at listening than I am, but so often as someone's sharing or telling a story, I'm zoning out, or I'm starting to think of a good answer that I can give, or I'm just waiting to jump in and tell a story that's better or funnier. We need to address this kind of behavior in our small groups. In loving but firm ways, call it out and help our students know that we're trying to build a place where we really listen and care for each other, and where students understand how much they're cared for by how well we listen. We can build this in a couple of small ways. Again, we need to model it. We need to ask good questions. When people say things, don't be afraid to restate what they're saying, to paraphrase what they've said, and ask them, did I hear you correctly? And allow them to shape your understanding. Encourage your students to ask questions. You can even require this from them. Sometimes when you're doing highs and lows, make a rule that before we move on to the next person, we're going to take time just for you to ask a follow-up question, for you to be more intentional and to dig into their lives. It might feel a little bit awkward, but just as a group, say, hey, for tonight, we're not moving on until one of us asks a question of somebody else. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. If you have more questions, check out the blog. There's more resources for you there.